Michigan. Carolyn, thank you so much for that introduction. It's good to be in the House of Labor. Okay, so we are 9 days away from the end of this election. 9 days, and every single one of these days leading up to November 3rd, Tuesday, November 3rd, is going to determine the outcome of this election. And you in Michigan are going to determine who will be the next president of the United States and vice president of the United States. You all are going to make the difference. So it's so good to be back. But here's the thing. So in 2016, okay, now I know we all still got our PTSD about what that was all about, right? In 2016, in the various districts, in terms of precincts in Michigan, 2 votes on average in each precinct in Michigan determine the outcome of that race. 2 votes on average in each precinct in Michigan was the difference between one outcome and what we got. So think about that, though. The significance of each vote in Michigan will determine who will be the next president of the United States. That is the power of you. That speaks to the power of you. And you all know that. That's why on this Sunday afternoon, we're all hanging out in the parking lot of UAW. Because we know the power is with the people. And so this is about just seeing it through and getting the job done. And I need your help. And Joe needs your help. We need your help. And just look at where we are, guys. We got so many crises going on at one time in our country. Just look at where we are. We're dealing with a pandemic that has resulted in a public health crisis. I call it, because it is, the greatest mass casualty event we have experienced since World War II. Where we're looking at over 225,000 Americans who just in the last several months have lost their lives. Many of whom, so tragically, because of the nature of this, couldn't even be with family and loved ones, holding their hands, being with them in their last days and hours on earth. Over 8.5 million people have contracted the virus, with unknown long-term health consequences. People talking about lung scarring, things like that. This has been a crisis that has caused people to suffer. And here's the thing. Donald Trump, thanks to a fellow by the name of Bob Woodward, we know, Donald Trump knew about the seriousness of this back on January 28th. He knew that it could kill people. He knew that it could hurt young people. He knew it was airborne. And he sat on that information and did not tell the American people. Can you imagine what you might have done if on January 28th you knew what this would turn out to be? You know, before the pandemic, we already were in a situation where folks had to work 2 and 3 jobs to try and pay the rent. We were already in a situation where most American families don't even have $1,000 of life savings. Can you imagine what you might have known on January 28th that would have allowed you to prepare? Not to mention buy toilet paper. You know what I'm talking about. But he sat on that information. We are now aware of what he knew, and look at the disaster and how it could have been avoided. A public health epidemic. And on the one hand, in this election, you have Joe Biden who says, we need to expand health care. We need to protect people with pre-existing conditions. We need to bring down the age of eligibility for Medicare to age 60. We need to recognize that when we're talking about health care, the body didn't start at the neck down, it also includes the neck up. That's called mental health care. Joe Biden recognizes that. That's the kind of president he will be. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who with his boy Bill Barr is in the United States Supreme Court trying to sue to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. And here's the thing, Pontiac, you know, even when he was running for office, have you noticed how Donald Trump has had this weird obsession with trying to get rid of whatever Barack Obama and Joe Biden created? We don't need a president with weird obsessions, do we? We don't want that. So he's trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act in court right now, and if he wins, over 20 million people will lose their coverage. People with pre-existing conditions. Do you know anybody? Do you love anybody with diabetes? With high blood pressure? Breast cancer? Lupus? And that coverage and that protection will be gone. There is a clear choice in this election about the path that we will be on just after about 9 days. We're going through a crisis that is a crisis of our economy, an economic crisis that is being compared to the Great Depression. Over 30 million people in just the last several months had to file for unemployment. Here in Michigan, 1 in 10 families is describing hunger in their household. 1 in 6 is describing an inability to pay rent or get rent paid next month. 1 in 4 small businesses in Michigan has had to close. In America today, 1 in 5 mothers is describing her children under the age of 12 as being hungry. We're in the midst of a hunger crisis in America. We're not talking about that. And on the one hand, you have Joe Biden. When he thinks about how well America's economy is doing, he asks the question, how are working people doing? He asks, how are working families doing? He says, when we get in office, we will not increase taxes on anyone making less than $400,000, and we will ensure that working families don't pay more than 7% of your income for child care. We will make sure there is a $15,000 tax credit for first-time home buyers so you can have a down payment and closing costs to have access to the American dream. That's how Joe Biden thinks about the economy. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump. When asked about how he measures the economy, he says, well, how's the stock market doing? How are rich people doing? One of his first acts when he got in office was to pass a tax bill benefiting the top 1% and the biggest corporations of America. Well, in a Biden-Harris administration, we're about to get rid of that. and invest that money in working people. Invest that money in building up America's infrastructure. And that's about jobs, building back up our roads and bridges and investing in renewable energies. That's about the auto industry and investing the money in America's auto industry so we become an international and global leader, and in particular in the production of electric vehicles. We're dealing with crises. We're dealing with a long overdue reckoning on the issue of racial injustice in America. On the one hand, you have Joe Biden, who has the courage and the knowledge of America's history to speak the phrase, Black Lives Matter. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who will never speak that phrase. And in the debate before last, when asked to condemn white supremacists, failed to do so and then doubled down and told them to stand back and stand by. When confronted with the issue of Charlottesville, where peaceful protesters were protesting racial injustice in America, a young woman was killed at that protest. And on the other side, there were neo-Nazis wearing swastikas, carrying tiki torches, hurling racial epithets, anti-Semitic epithets. And what did Donald Trump say? There were fine people on both sides. You have Joe Biden, who says we need to deal with these issues in terms of systemic racism, both in our healthcare system, yes, in our educational system, the racial wealth gap. We need to reform the criminal justice system. We need to decriminalize marijuana, expunge the records of people who have been convicted. We need to end mandatory minimums. We need to end cash bail because people are sitting in jail simply because they don't have the money to get out, and that is an economic justice issue as much as a criminal justice issue. And on the other hand, you have Donald Trump. We are dealing with many crises. We're dealing with the crisis of a climate crisis. Now, y'all know I come from California. I was born in Oakland, California, so I feel it's had some connection to Oakland County. We're all from Oakland. The west coast of our country is burning. Wildfires from California, Oregon, Washington, Colorado. Whole communities of people being evacuated. I've met firefighters who've been fighting those fires while their own homes are burning. My brother-in-law's a firefighter. You look at what's happening in our Gulf states. Entire communities being wiped out because of those storms. In the Midwest, floods that have caused farmers to lose a whole season of crops. Joe Biden says, let's embrace the facts and the science and deal with this, understanding that we as a species need to be able to breathe clean air and drink clean water. Hello, Flint. Saying, let's invest in the future of our planet. Protect this planet God gave us, and also understand to do so means investing in renewable energy, and that's jobs. That's a lot of jobs, and those are the jobs that require the skills that our brothers and sisters in the building trades have. It's about apprenticeships. It's about upgrading the skills. to do the work of also protecting jobs, growing jobs, and protecting our planet. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who, when asked about the fires in California, okay, so the journalist basically said, so, you know, Mr. President, these wildfires are burning pretty badly on the West Coast. And, you know, the scientists are saying these extreme climate changes have something to do with this. What do you have to say, Mr. President? The President of the United States, who is also the Commander-in-Chief, said, science doesn't know. What is that? Right? Right? Science doesn't know. Well, science does know, Mr. President. You don't know. There is so much at stake. There is so much at stake. And you have the power. And you know that. And that's why you are here this Sunday afternoon. And we're going to use it. And we're going to use it. And you know, I've been traveling all over the country. I was, this last week I've been in Florida, I've been in North Carolina, Georgia, Ohio. I'll be somewhere tomorrow and the day after. But I'm here in Michigan today. But let me tell you something. There's stuff going on in our country about voting. And, you know, when people say, why should I vote? I'd say there are three reasons. Reason number one is to honor the ancestors. Honor the ancestors. We lost this year a hero, an American hero, in Congressman John Lewis. He's listening to us right now and watching us. That was good trouble what he did. John Lewis, who shed his blood on that Edmund Pettus Bridge with so many others, fighting, because it was a fight for our right to vote. We must honor the ancestors. Let's honor the ancestors when we recognize that this year we celebrated the passage of the 19th Amendment. And thanks to all those suffragettes, women could vote. Let's also remember, not until 1965 could black women vote. Let's honor the ancestors. Reason number one to vote. Reason number two, everything is at stake. Everything. The future of our earth, the future of our children, the future of our economy, whether we are going to have leaders who respect working people, who respect good paying union jobs, who respect the right to collective bargaining, people who respect the dignity in all people. Everything is at stake. And number three, here's how I think about the third reason to vote. So back to all these states where I've been and so many others. All over our country, there have been powerful people for quite some time now trying to suppress the vote, to purge voter rolls, to pick up or not give counties enough drop boxes for folks to drop off their ballots. You know, we know the history on it, but we're living history on it too. In the debate before last, the President of the United States was on that stage in front of, 70 million Americans? And in my opinion, openly invited suppression of the vote. People are messing with our right to vote. Powerful people trying to confuse us, trying to make it complicated. messing with the post office. Like the post office, right? I mean, the post office, postal workers. Who would have ever thought? So one must ask them, why are these powerful people taking up so much time, going through so much effort to mess with our vote? And the answer is because they know our power. They know our power. They know when we vote, things change. They know when we vote, we win. I see the Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist over there. That's what they know. And so here we are to say we will never let anybody take our power from us. We will never allow anyone to sideline us. We will be in the game. We will exercise our power. We know the strength of our voice. We know at election time our voice is through our vote. And you know, people ask me, they say, well, Kamala, how are you feeling about, the day after the election? You're worried about, the challenges and all that. I say, look, there is no question that over these last 3.5 years, that our democracy has taken a beating. The rule of law has taken a beating. Respect for these offices and institutions, respect for our democracy has been challenged. There's no question about that. But here's the thing I also know. America's democracy is as strong as our willingness to fight for it. As our willingness to fight for it. And as long as we fight for it, we will be strong. And that is what is before us in this election. All of that. So my last point is this. This moment will pass. And years from now, our children, our grandchildren, and others will look at us, each one of us. They're going to look at us in our eyes, and they are going to ask us, where were you? And what we are going to be able to tell them is so much more than just how we felt at this moment. What we will tell them is what we did. We will tell them what we did. We will tell them we were hanging out on this particular Sunday afternoon in UAW's parking lot with Kamala talking about things. We will tell them that we organized folks, that we reminded people to early vote. We told them to go to iwillvote.com. We will tell people how we text and we email and we call folks till they were sick of hearing from us, but we knew they'd come around eventually. We will tell them what we did to re-elect Gary Peters to the United States Senate. And we will tell them we elected Joe Biden President of the United States.